The siren wailed like a banshee in the dead of night, slicing through the humid Missouri air as my old Ford pickup shuddered to a stop on the shoulder of I-70. My heart hammered against my ribs, not from the speed I'd been pushing, maybe 5 over, but from the ghosts I'd been outrunning for years, the kind that whisper your failures back to you when the dashboard clock ticks past midnight. I gripped the wheel until my knuckles bleached white, staring straight ahead at the endless black ribbon of highway, praying the cop behind me wouldn't see the tremor in my hands or the lie I'd built my whole life around. Blue and red lights painted the cab in erratic pulses, turning my faded Wranglers and the empty beer cans rattling in the passenger footwell into a crime scene from some bad cop show. I killed the engine, the silence crashing in like Judgment Day, and that's when the gravel crunched under heavy boots approaching my window. I rolled it down slow, forcing a sheepish grin that felt like cracking concrete. The flashlight beam hit my face first, blinding, and then his voice, deep, edged with that Midwestern drawl, cut through the dark. "License and registration, sir. And while you're at it, Elijah, you want to tell me why the hell you're running from me after all this time?" I froze, the name hitting me like a sucker punch to the gut, because no cop on God's green earth should have known it. Not like that. Not with the weight of 12 years laced into those 3 syllables. The light dropped, and there he was, Lucas Hale, all grown up into a broad-shouldered sheriff's deputy with a jawline sharp enough to cut glass and eyes the color of storm clouds over the Ozarks. The boy I'd loved in secret, the one who'd shattered me without ever knowing it, now staring back through the window of my unraveling world like fate's cruelest punchline. My mouth went dry as I fumbled for my wallet, the leather worn thin from too many nights clutching it like a lifeline. "Deputy," I managed, voice scraping out hoarse. "You must have me mixed up with someone else." But even as the words left my lips, I knew they were bullshit. Lucas's gaze pinned me, unblinking, the kind of look that stripped away every layer of armor I'd piled on since high school. Since that summer when we were 17 and invincible, sneaking beers by the creek, our shoulders brushing in the dark, while we pretended it was just bros being bros. He didn't laugh, didn't cuff me on the spot for the lie. Instead, he leaned in closer, one hand on the doorframe, his uniform straining against the muscle he'd earned from God knows how many dead-end gym sessions in this nowhere town. "Cut the crap, Eli. I clocked your truck a mile back, same dent in the fender from that joyride we took junior year. And yeah, I ran the plates. Figured it'd be you, barreling through Blackwater like a bat out of hell at 2 a.m. His breath fogged the humid air between us, carrying the faint scent of black coffee and whatever cheap aftershave he still used. "What are you doing back here? Ma's funeral was last week. You skip it to haunt the highways instead." The mention of Mom hit like whiplash. She'd gone quick. Cancer, the kind that doesn't give you time to say goodbye, and I'd buried the grief under miles of asphalt, driving west from Chicago where I'd scraped together a life as a freelance graphic designer, dodging calls from old numbers that might have been him. Blackwater, Missouri, population 2,847. Give or take a heartbreak. The town where we'd grown up trading comic books and dreams of escaping to the big city, where every dirt road held a memory I tried to outrun. And now here he was, badge gleaming under the cruiser lights, unraveling me with a single question. I handed over the documents, our fingers brushing for the split second it took to pass them, a spark that jolted straight to my core, same as always. Just passing through. I lied again, staring at the console where a crumpled photo of us, kids with gap-toothed grins at the county fair, peeked from the visor. Headed to St. Louis for work. Didn't mean to blow the limit. Lucas straightened, but he didn't walk away. He scanned the papers with his flashlight, the beam lingering on my Illinois address like it was evidence in a trial. "St. Louis, huh? That's a hell of a detour for work. Last I heard, you were holed up in some high-rise in the Windy City, designing logos for fat cats who wouldn't know art if it bit him." There was no malice in his tone, just that old familiarity, the kind that made my chest ache with what-ifs. He'd always been the straight shooter, literally, now, while I'd twisted myself into knots to hide who I was. He handed back the license, but instead of the ticket I braced for, he jerked his head toward the cruiser. "Step out. We need to talk." It wasn't a request, but the way his eyes softened at the edges. That was the hook sinking deeper, pulling me back into the current I'd fought so hard to swim against. I complied, boots hitting gravel with a crunch that echoed my resolve cracking. The night air wrapped around us, thick with cicadas and the distant hum of semis on the interstate. Lucas crossed his arms, the fabric of his shirt pulling taut, and for a beat, we just stood there, two ghosts from a shared past, sizing each other up under the indifferent stars. "Eli, listen," he started, voice dropping low like we were still hiding behind the bleachers after football practice. "I saw your name on the obituary guest list. You didn't show? Folks talked, said you'd cut ties years ago, after everything. After everything." The words hung heavy, loaded with the unexploded bomb of our history. The summer of '09, when we'd stolen my dad's truck and driven to Table Rock Lake, parking under the pines with a six-pack and a boombox blasting Springsteen. We'd talked for hours, about college, about getting out, about the girls we pretended to chase because that's what small-town boys did. But then his hand had found mine in the dark, tentative, electric, and for one stolen night, we'd crossed the line we'd both towed for years. A kiss that tasted like freedom and fear, his lips soft against mine, his breath hitching as he whispered, "This doesn't change anything, right?" It changed everything. By morning, he'd pulled away, eyes haunted, muttering about confusion and what his dad would say. I never pushed. I just vanished into the city, building walls higher than the Willis Tower. "I had reasons," I said now, the words bitter on my tongue. "Complicated ones." He uncrossed his arms, stepping closer. Too close, the heat of him cutting through the chill. "Complicate this." Then, I kept tabs. Not in a creepy way, just wondered. "Saw your Instagram once. Nice life up there, all lofts and latte art. But you look like hell, Eli. What's chasing you?" "You," I wanted to say. The what-ifs, the silence that followed that night. The way you'd marry Sarah Jenkins 2 years later and post baby pics like a badge of normalcy. But I swallowed it down, opting for half-truth. Mom's estate. Loose ends. Figured I'd handle him quiet-like. Lucas's jaw tightened, a muscle ticking like a countdown. "Quiet. You're speeding through my jurisdiction like you're fleeing a crime scene. And don't think I didn't notice the flask in your glove box." He paused, eyes searching mine with that intensity that used to unravel me. "This about her? Or us?" The us landed like a grenade, shrapnel embedding in every scar I'd ignored. I laughed, short and sharp, to cover the burn. "Us? That's ancient history, Lucas. Water under the bridge, or the lake, in our case." But he didn't back off. If anything, he leaned in, voice a gravelly murmur. "Maybe for you. Not for me. That night, I fucked up, Eli. Bad. I was scared shitless. Of Dad, of the town, of what it meant. But I never stopped thinking about it. About you." My world tilted, the highway blurring at the edges. 12 years of radio silence, and now this. A confession from the man who'd become the symbol of everything I'd lost, delivered under the glare of his patrol lights like some cosmic joke. "You married Sarah." I shot back, the words a shield. "Had the kid, the house with the white picket fence. Don't pull this now." His face crumpled, just for a second, the mask of the unflappable deputy slipping. "Yeah, I did. And it was a mistake from the jump. We divorced 3 years back. Kid, Tommy, he's with her in Kansas City now. I came out last year. Quietly. Town knows, mostly. Ain't easy, but it's honest. Came out." The words echoed, rewriting the narrative I'd scripted in my head. Lucas Hale, the golden boy who'd chosen the straight and narrow, leaving me to question if that night had been real at all. Now he stood here, badge and all, owning it. My pulse thundered, a mix of fury and longing twisting like barbed wire in my gut. "Why tell me? After all this time?" "Because you're here," he said simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "And I'm done running." I don't know what possessed me to follow him, not back to my truck, but to his cruiser, sliding into the passenger seat like a suspect in for questioning. The interior smelled of vinyl and stale fast food, a far cry from the sleek anonymity of my Chicago apartment, but it felt like slipping into an old skin, familiar and constricting all at once. Lucas killed the lights, but left the engine idling, the low rumble vibrating through us as he turned in his seat, one elbow on the console, close enough that I could trace the faint scar above his eyebrow from that dumbass bike wreck we'd laughed about a lifetime ago. "Tell me the truth, Eli," he said. No badge, no bluster. Just Lucas, the kid who'd shared his last Snickers bar when I was too broke for lunch. "Why'd you really come back? Ma's lawyer called me when you didn't show for the reading. Said there was something in the will, something about the old cabin by the creek. Your inheritance, tied up with strings." The cabin. Mom's pride and joy, a rickety A-frame she'd fixed up after Dad bailed, where she'd taught me to fish and forget. I'd known about it, vaguely, her letters over the years hinting at surprises, but grief had me dodging details, burying the key she'd mailed me under junk mail in my loft. "Strings?" I echoed, unease prickling my skin. "What kind?" He hesitated, fingers drumming the wheel, a tell I'd forgotten he had when he was nervous. "She left it to you outright. But there's a codicil. Something about reconciling unfinished business. Lawyer wouldn't say more without you there. Sounded personal, like she knew you'd bolt. Mom always had. She'd been the only one who'd clocked my silences after that summer, the way I'd stare at Lucas's truck in the high school lot like it held all the answers. Never pushed, just left books on the coffee table, ones with quiet heroes finding their way, and hugged me tighter on Sundays. Unfinished business, I muttered, the phrase tasting like regret. Figures. She was always meddling with that soft heart of hers. Lucas's laugh was low, rueful. "Yeah, well, she meddled with me too. Before she got sick, she cornered me at the diner. Told me I owed you an apology. Said if I didn't make it right, Karma'd kick my ass harder than any Blackwater gossip." His eyes met mine, steady now, stripped bare. "I told her I'd try. Then she was gone, and you were a ghost. Until tonight." The confession hung there, heavy as the humidity pressing against the windows. I wanted to rage, at him for waiting, at Mom for playing matchmaker from the grave, at myself for the ache that bloomed fresh in my chest. Instead, I leaned back, staring at the star-speckled roofliner. "You think an apology fixes 12 years? I built a life up north, Lucas. Friends, gigs, a cat that doesn't judge. Coming back. It's like picking at a scab." "I know," he admitted, voice cracking just a hair. "But scabs heal wrong if you leave him. Mine's been itching like hell." He reached out then, tentative, his hand hovering over mine on the console, a question in the air between us. I didn't pull away. Couldn't. The touch, when it landed, was warm, calloused from handling shotguns and steering wheels, grounding me in a way the city's neon never had. We sat like that for what felt like hours, though the dash clock said minutes, the world outside fading to a distant whoosh of traffic. He talked, halting at first, then spilling like a dam break. About the marriage, how Sarah had been a safe harbor after that night, a way to prove to himself and the town he wasn't one of those. About Tommy, the light of his life, with his mop of curls and endless questions about why Daddy didn't live with Mommy anymore. About coming out, the whispers at the VFW hall, the awkward nod from Pastor Reynolds, the quiet pride when his captain clapped him on the back and said, "About time, Hale." And me? I let pieces slip too. The freelance hustle that paid the bills but starved the soul. The parade of dates that fizzled because no one measured up to a ghost. The therapy sessions where I'd finally named the hurt aloud. "I thought you regretted it." I confessed, thumb tracing the seam of the seat. "That kiss. Like it was a phase you outgrew." "Never," he whispered fiercely. "I regretted the silence. The way I let you think you were alone in it." His grip tightened, a lifeline. "Eli, that night by the lake, it was the truest I've ever felt. Scared me straight into denial, but it never left." The words unlocked something in me, a flood of what-ifs crashing against the walls I'd built. I turned my hand, lacing our fingers, the simple act feeling like defiance against the years lost. "What now?" I asked, voice barely above the engine's hum. "You gonna ticket me for emotional trespassing?" He chuckled, the sound warming the cab like sunlight on frost. "Nah, but you're staying till morning. Well, reading's at 9. Then, we figure the rest. Together, if you'll let me." I nodded, the fight draining out like air from a punctured tire. As he pulled the cruiser back onto the highway, escorting me the 10 miles to Mom's empty house, the weight on my shoulders lightened, just a fraction. Blackwater loomed ahead, all porch lights and picket fences, a place I'd fled but never escaped. For the first time in years, though, It didn't feel like a cage. It felt like a crossroads. Dawn crept in slow, painting the sky over the rolling hills in pinks and golds as we rolled up to the old Victorian Mom had called home. The porch swing creaked in the breeze, a mocking reminder of lazy afternoons with sweet tea and her stories. Lucas walked me to the door, his presence a solid anchor in the grief's undertow. "Get some shut-eye," he said, handing over a spare key from his pocket. "I'll swing by at 8. We do this right." Inside, the house smelled of lavender and lemon polish, her touches everywhere. The quilt on the couch, the shelf of dog-eared paperbacks. I collapsed onto the bed, the mattress sagging under me. And for the first time since the call about her passing, sleep came not as escape, but as surrender. Dreams tangled, lakeside pines, his hand in mine, Mom's knowing smile watching from the shore. Morning brought coffee brewing and Lucas's truck rumbling up the drive, right on time. He looked fresher in the light, uniform swapped for jeans and a faded Cardinals tee, a styrofoam cup extended like an olive branch. "Black, 2 sugars," he said with a grin. "Some things don't change." We drove in companionable quiet to the lawyer's office downtown, a squat brick building wedged between the feed store and the Five and Dime. Mr. Hargrove, all spectacles and tweed, ushered us into a back room smelling of musty files and regret. "Elijah," he greeted, shaking my hand with bony fingers. "Glad you made it. Your mother's will is straightforward, but the cabin clause, well, she'll explain better herself." He slid over a sealed envelope, her looping script on the front. "For Eli," read with an open heart. My throat tightened as I broke the wax, unfolding the pages yellowed slightly at the edges. "My dearest boy, if you're reading this, I'm gone, but not really. Pieces of me linger in the creek's murmur, the cabin's creak. I leave you the house, the savings, meager, but yours, and that old place by the water. But the cabin? It's yours only if you face the unfinished. I saw it in your eyes that summer. The spark with Lucas, the fear that followed. Life's too short for half-truths, Eli. He loves you, always has. Forgive him. Forgive yourself. Make it a home, not a haunt." Tenderly, Mom. Tears blurred the ink, hot and unbidden. Lucas's hand found my shoulder, steady as bedrock. "She always knew," he murmured, voice thick. "Yeah," I choked out. Meddler to the end. Hargrove cleared his throat, oblivious or polite. "Sign here, and it's yours. Joint tenancy if you wish." Deputy Hale's name was mentioned as co-beneficiary, should you choose. I glanced at Lucas, his eyes wide with that boyish hope I'd missed. "Joint," he echoed. "Sounds right," I said, pen scratching paper like a vow. The cabin, our cabin now, felt less like inheritance and more like invitation. But as we stepped out into the crisp morning, freedom birds wheeling overhead, a shadow crept in. My phone buzzed in my pocket, insistent, pulling me back to the life I'd paused. Chicago calling, a big client, deadlines looming, the grind that had become my armor. "Gotta head back soon," I told him, the words tasting like ash. Loosely tied ends. His face fell, but he nodded. "Understood. But the cabin? It's there whenever." Doors open. We parted with a hug. Fierce, lingering, the kind that promises more. I hit the road north, windows down, wind whipping through like absolution. Blackwater shrank in the rear view, but for once, it didn't pull me under. It propelled me forward. Weeks blurred into a rhythm. Emails from Hargrove about deed transfers, late-night calls with Lucas, where voices dropped to whispers about nothing and everything. Tommy's first t-ball game, my latest pitch deck, the way the lake looked at dusk. Photos trickled in. Him with his son, gap-toothed grins mirroring our old fair pics. Me at a rooftop bar, skyline aglow, but eyes distant. Then, the bomb dropped. A voicemail from an unknown Kansas number. Sarah, Lucas's ex, voice clipped and furious. "Elijah? This is Sarah Hale. Whatever game you're playing with Luke, cut it out. He's spiraling, missed shifts, drinking again. Tommy asks why Daddy's sad. If you're some city rebound, back off before you wreck him." My blood ran cold. Rebound? After 12 years? I fired back a text to Lucas. "What the hell?" Sarah called. "Says you're falling apart." His reply came quick. "Misunderstanding. She's blowing up old fights. Ignore." But doubt wormed in, insidious. I drove back south unannounced, the miles ticking like accusations. The cabin greeted me first, boards weathered but sturdy. The porch overlooking the creek where willows dipped like conspirators. Smoke curled from the chimney. He was here. Inside, the air was thick with pine and pasta sauce. Lucas stirring a pot on the ancient stove, sleeves rolled up, radio crooning Garth Brooks. He turned, surprise melting into a smile that lit the dim room. Eli, what? I cut him off, phone thrust forward. Explain this. His face drained of color as he scanned the message. Shit. Sarah. She's got her wires crossed. After the divorce, she clung hard, jealous of anyone new. When I told her about us, about maybe trying, she flipped. Thinks you're using me to prove something. Prove what? I demanded, voice rising. That I'm not the fool who waited? He set down the spoon, hands up like calming a spooked horse. Eli, no. She's projecting, her guilt over the split, Tommy's custody mess. I told her we're real. Slow but real. The fight ebbed, leaving exhaustion. I sagged against the counter, the familiar creak grounding me. I can't do half measures, Lucas. Not again. Then don't, he said, closing the gap, forehead to mine. Stay? Or let me come north. But we're in this. We ate by lantern light, spaghetti from a jar, but tasting like home, talks spilling into the night. Secrets unearthed, his hidden letters to me, burned in shame, my anonymous blog posts, venting the ache. Laughter mixed with tears, the creek outside a soothing chorus. But dawn brought reality. My phone lit up again, not Sarah, but my agent, gigs locked. Need you in Chi by Monday. Big break. Lucas saw it, jaw clenching. Go, he urged. Chase it. I'll hold the fort here. I left with a kiss that bruised, promising weekends, calls, the cabin as our anchor. Chicago swallowed me, deadlines, diners, the relentless pulse. But cracks showed, sketches of lakeside porches creeping into designs, Lucas's voice a lifeline in the quiet hours. Then, the fracture. A month in, a package arrived at my loft. Photos, grainy but damning. Me and Lucas at the diner, hands brushing. Him dropping me at my truck, that hug too intimate for bystanders. Tucked inside, a note in Sarah's scrawl, told you. He's not ready. For Tommy's sake, walk away. Or I go public. Public. In Blackwater, that meant headlines, whispers turning to shouts, deputy in scandal with city queer. My stomach nodded. Lucas had fought for his badge post coming out. This could torch it. I called him, voice shaking. Sarah sent pics. Threatening exposure. Silence, then a curse. Damn it. She's bluffing. Has been since the divorce. But if she pushes. Tommy. The kid. Innocent collateral in our unfinished business. What do we do? I whispered. Fight, he growled. Together. But doubt festered. I ghosted for days, burying in work, the loft closing in like a tomb. Mom's words echoed, forgive. But forgiveness felt like surrender. The high-rise meeting room overlooked Lake Michigan, all glass and ambition, but I barely registered the view, my pitch for the craft beer chain droning on autopilot while my mind replayed that note. Sarah's venom looping like a bad track. Elijah? Your thoughts on the rebrand? My client, a slick exec with a man bun, snapped me back. Yeah, rustic fonts, evoking heartland roots. I ad-libbed, sliding sketches across the table. They nodded, impressed, but the wind tasted hollow. Back in the loft, the cat, whiskers, ironic now, curled on my lap as I stared at my phone, Lucas's last text unread. Call me. Please. I did, finally, voicemail swallowing my apology. It's me. Needed space. This. It's messy. Talk soon. Cowardice, pure. Days stretched, work a blur, until his call pierced the silence mid-sketch. Eli. Exhaustion laced his tone, edged with hurt. Space? After everything. Sarah's not bluffing, I blurted. Those pics, if they leak, your job, Tommy. Forget the job, he snapped, rare fire. I've faced worse. Dad disowned me when I came out. Town survived. But you pulling away? That's the knife. Guilt twisted deeper. I'm protecting you. Bullshit. You're protecting yourself from us. A pause, heavy. Come down. Weekend. Cabin. No phones, no exes. Just truth. I went. The drive south unspooled like therapy, billboards for Bass Pro Shops and Cracker Barrel blurring past, pulling me from urban frenzy to rural hush. The cabin waited, smoke wisping. Lucas on the porch with a cooler of brews and that damn smile. We talked till stars pricked the sky, raw, unfiltered. About fear. Mine, of small-town judgment echoing Dad's abandonment. His, of failing Tommy by loving wrong. About dreams. My art in galleries, not ads. His shift to youth outreach, mentoring kids like us. Laughter crept in over Eskimo rays by the fire pit. His stories of botched patrols had me doubled, sides aching. Night deepened, and so did we. Curled on the sagging couch, his head on my chest, heartbeat sinking like a forgotten song. I love you, he murmured into my shirt, words I'd waited lifetimes for. Always have. Love you too. I breathed, the admission freeing. Sleep claimed us tangled, the creek's lullaby sealing the peace. Morning shattered it. A truck rumbled up, Sarah's, dust clouding as she stormed out, Tommy in tow, the boy wide-eyed clutching a baseball mitt. Lucas, she bellowed, voice shrill. We need to talk. Now. He bolted up, me trailing, heart pounding. Tommy spotted me first, grinning shy. Uncle Eli? Daddy said you'd come. Uncle. The word warmed, but Sarah's glare iced it. This him? The friend causing chaos. She thrust a folder at Lucas. Divorce addendums, custody motions. Your truth is screwing visitation. Judge'll see these pics, question your stability. Stability? Lucas roared, snatching the papers. You're weaponizing our son. Tommy whimpered, and I knelt, distracting with a mitt toss, but the air crackled with venom. Leave him out, I said low to Sarah. This isn't about me. Everything's about you now, she hissed. He was fine till you waltzed back, playing house like it's not gonna blow up. Lucas stepped between, voice steel. Enough. We'll settle in court, clean. But threaten Eli again? You lose more than weekends. She scooped Tommy, retreating with a parting shot. Your funeral, Luke. Town'll eat you alive. The dust settled, but the damage lingered. Tommy hugged me goodbye, fierce, trusting, whispering, don't let mommy be mean. I promised, throat tight, as they drove off. Inside, Lucas paced, fury ebbing to despair. She's right about one thing, it's blowing up. Captain called, rumors swirling. If it hits the paper, we fight. I echoed his earlier words, pulling him close. Mom's cabin, remember? Unfinished business. He nodded, but shadows clung. I stayed the weekend, fishing with him, sketching the willows, nights reaffirming love in whispers and touches that healed more than hurt. Sunday, driving north, resolve hardened. This was worth the storm. Chicago greeted with rain-slick streets, my agent buzzing about extensions. But focus fractured, designs bled into cabin motifs, clients noting the soul in my work. Lucas checked in daily, Tommy aced spelling. Miss you. His anchors. Then, the leak. A grainy article in the Blackwater Gazette, Deputies Double Life? Sources say Hale's hiding Heartland heartbreak. Pics splashed, headlines screaming scandal. My phone exploded, worried calls from old friends, my agent probing for inspiration. But Lucas's silence? Deafening. I called, voicemail. Eli, it's bad. Protests at the station, folks I grew up with. Suspended pending review. Need time. Click. Time. The word mocked as days bled. I drove south again, uninvited, the cabin dark, for sale sign staked crooked in the yard. Heart plummeting, I pounded the door, no answer. Desperate, the station, closed, yellow tape fluttering like surrender. Panic clawed. Hargrove's office yielded nothing. Deed transferred, but Lucas vanished. Tommy's school, Hale? Transferred out of district. Sarah's number, blocked. Grief morphed to rage. Back north, I drowned in work, the loft a cage. Weeks in, a letter arrived, his script, shaky. Eli. I'm sorry. Sarah won round 1. Emergency custody hearing. Judge cited unstable environment. Lost the badge, the house. Packed Tommy and headed west, for folks in Denver. Starting over, clean slate. You deserve better than this mess. The cabin's yours. Sell it, burn it, whatever heals. Loved you true. Always. Luke. The paper crumpled in my fist, sobs racking. Betrayal? No. Sacrifice, gutting us both. He'd chosen the boy, as he should, but left me shattered. I drove to Blackwater one last time, the town a ghost, whispers trailing my truck. The cabin loomed, willows weeping. Inside, his scent lingered, a flannel draped on the chair. Mom's quilt on the bed, embroidered with home is where the heart mends. I sat by the creek, rod idle, tears feeding the current. Fan no boiled, at Sarah's cruelty, the town's bigotry, our timing's curse. But beneath, dawn cam bloomed. For Lucas's impossible choice, my own fears that doomed us. Decision crystallized, hard as Ozark quartz. I wouldn't sell. I'd fight. Not for him, but for us, the unfinished. Calls to lawyers, allies in the force, a blog post spilling our story. Love in the heartland. Why one deputy walked away. Responses flooded. Support from queer orgs. Outrage at the bias. Petitions circulated. Headlines shifted. Suspended sheriff stands for son and love. Months ground on, my designs funding the fight. Pro bono briefs, town hall testimonies. Then, a call. Lucas, voice broken. Eli, saw the post. You didn't have to. Had to, I said. For Mom. For us. I'm in Denver. Tommy's settling. But, I miss the creek. Miss you. Come back, I urged. Badge or no, the cabin waits. We wait. Pause. Then, 2 weeks. If the town's ready. It was. Protests flipped to parades, the Gazette recanting with egg on face. Lucas returned, Tommy in tow, wide-eyed at the welcome wagon of pies and posters. Captain reinstated him, conditions met, community liaison, no grudges. We met at the dock, sunset gilding the lake, fireflies winking like conspirators. Tommy splashed ahead, mid-forgotten. Lucas pulled me close, lips brushing mine. Soft, sure, no shadows. Forgiven, he whispered. Always, I murmured. The cabin became home. Renos by weekend warriors, my sketches guiding. Tommy called me dad by spring, Sarah thawing to co-parent truce. Chicago faded to visits, my art thriving on Heartland soul. Years on, under that starry dock, lantern glow warm, we danced slow to Phantom Springsteen. 2 men mended, unfinished business finished. Mom smiled from the willows, her meddling the grace that saved us. Looking back, that pullover wasn't fate's prank. It was the pivot, the moment the universe said, enough running. Blackwater, once a chokehold of conformity, bloomed into something resilient, a microcosm of America's messy march toward acceptance. Lucas's reinstatement came with fanfare. A press conference on the courthouse steps, him in crisp blues, Tommy beaming beside, me in the crowd with a sketchpad hiding shaky hands. Service isn't about perfection, he told the mics, voice steady as the Mississippi. It's about showing up. For your town, your family, your truth. Cameras flashed, applause thundered. I caught his eye over the sea of faces. Our secret nod, the one from Creekside Confessions. Life wove us tighter after. The cabin, that creaky sentinel, transformed under weekends of sweat and stories. I traded freelance volatility for a hybrid gig. Remote designs for a St. Louis firm, plus local commissions. Murals for the community center depicting Ozark lore with subtle queer icons woven in, like intertwined vines symbolizing roots and reach. Lucas shifted gears too, his beat now youth programs. After-school art clubs where kids like us could sketch without shame, talk without tongues tied. Tommy thrived, a whirlwind of freckles and fort building, bridging our worlds with sticky hugs and endless whys. Sarah? The ice thawed slow, grudging. Court-mandated counseling unearthed her own scars. Abusive folks, a marriage she'd clung to like driftwood. We met neutral, at a park midway, her handing over weekend bags with less glare. Didn't think you'd stick, she admitted once, over lukewarm coffee. Most don't. I nodded, no gloat, just truth. Love's not a sprint. Now, holidays blend. Her new partner, a quiet mechanic, grilling burgers while Tommy shuttles between, unscathed. But scars linger, faint echoes in quiet moments. Nights when Lucas wakes gasping from dreams of lost badges, or I scroll old Instagrams, wondering at the boy who'd fled. We talk it out. Therapy now, Joint sessions with a counselor who gets the rural queer grind. You're not broken, she says. You're battle-tested. It sticks, that. Highs balance the lows. Our first anniversary, not the pull-over date, but the dock dance, lanterns strung like fireflies caught. I gifted him a custom badge, engraved truth's finest, and he surprised with rings, simple bands of Missouri River gold, vowing under the moon. This time, no running. Tommy, flower boy at 7, scattered petals with solemn glee, declaring us superheroes. The town evolved too. Pastor Reynolds, once awkward, preached a sermon on Ruth and Naomi. Where you go, I go, drawing teary nods. The Gazette ran my op-ed, from shadows to shorelines, sparking letters. You gave us courage. Protests? Ancient history, morphed to pride floats down Maine, rainbows on shop windows. Yet conflict simmers, America's underbelly. A state bill loomed, anti-trans nonsense bleeding into broader family values crusades, stirring old bigots. Lucas testified in Jefferson City, voice cracking on Tommy's future. My son's safe because we fought. Don't rob others that chance. I rallied artists statewide, murals popping on overpasses. Love wins, y'all. It passed, narrow, but victory tasted sweet, shared over diner pie, his hand in mine under the table, unhidden. Deeper cuts came personal. My bio dad surfaced, a ghost from mom's tales. Boozy vet who'd split for Vegas, now sober, dying, seeking amends. Letters piled, saw your story. Proud, son. Proud. After ditching a scared kid grappling identity alone, I burned them in the cabin fire pit, ashes swirling like purged poison. Lucas held me through the rage, whispering, "You're enough." Always were. Mom's birthday brought catharsis. We picnicked by her grave, quilts spread, her favorite lemon bars, Tommy chattering about school while Lucas traced her stone. She meddled good, he said. I nodded, unveiling my gift. A portrait, her laughing in the kitchen, eyes twinkling with that knowing spark. Hung now in the cabin, guardian of our graft. Tommy grew, testing waters. At 10, he asked point-blank over pancakes. Why'd mommy hate you guys at first? Lucas fielded, honest but gentle. Fear, bud. Folks get scared of different. But love? It teaches. The boy pondered, then grinned. Like superheroes fighting villains. We laughed, but it planted. Our duty to nurture his empathy, shield without smothering. Professionally, arcs bent. My designs caught a Chicago gallery's eye, solo show, Heartland echoes, blending rural grit with queer resilience. Opening night, Lucas flew up, Tommy in tow, the kid awed by skyscrapers. Daddy, Uncle Eli's famous. Flashbulbs popped, critics raved. But the real win? Lucas, tie crooked, murmuring amid the crowd. Proud doesn't cover it. His turn came quieter. Promotion to sergeant, youth division head. Ceremony at the VFW. Beers, backslaps, toasts to Hale's heart. I sketched from the corner, capturing his flush under the lights, Tommy pinning the star with chubby fingers. Intimacies deepened, the romantic core. Lazy Sundays trail running the bluffs, sweat slick and breathless, collapsing into kisses tasting of salt and wild air. Winter nights bundled by the hearth, his fingers tracing my spine as we read aloud. Vonnegut, for the absurd grace. Summers, lake dips at dusk, bodies buoyant, laughter echoing as Tommy cannonballs nearby. Yet, the pullover's echo lingers, a reminder of fragility. Last spring, a routine stop, some punk kid, high on bravado, clocked Lucas's ring, spat slurs. Backup called, but the kid swung, fist glancing Lucas's jaw, reopening old doubts. Home, ice packed to bruise, he confessed, wonders sometimes if we're selfish. Exposing him to this. I cupped his face, thumb gentle on the swell. Selfish? We're modeling brave. That's the gift. He leaned in, lips soft, the kiss a reaffirmation, slow, deep, sealing the vow. Crisis crested unexpected. Tommy's school project, family tree, unearthed questions. Where's my other dad? He asked, crayon portrait of us three clutched tight. We sat him down, truths age appropriate. Biology's blueprint, love's the builder. You got two dads who chose you, Lucas said. Lucky kid. Tears, hugs, then baseball, resilience in motion. Through it, Mom's codicil proved prophetic. The cabin, once haunt, now hearth, walls echoing with life. Holiday clamors, friend barbecues, Tommy's first guitar strums. I pinned a book, pulled over, A Love in the Rear View, memoirs laced with illustrations, proceeds to rural LGBTQ fonts. Bestseller in niche circles, it mended more, letters from boys in backwaters. Your story gave me words. Now, 5 years on, we stand on that dock again. Anniversary Eve, lantern flickering, lake mirror calm. Tommy, 12 and lanky, roasts marshmallows with pals, oblivious to our sway. Lucas pulls me close, breath warm on my neck. Changed my life, that night. Mine too. I murmur, hand in his, stars wheeling above. Fan no long faded, dong cam endures, for the boy we were, the men we forged. America's tapestry, flawed and fierce, holds us tight. In the end, it's human, messy, mending, profoundly ours. And as fireflies dance, I know, we're home.